Oh, it's that moment, that very moment. Yep, 2024 is behind us, and the new year, as always, is full of tons of new temptations, pitfalls, and desires that torment our rest in the form of war games. It is essential to focus and establish a minimum of guideline or plan, which will promptly go up in the air to maintain a sort of dignity and try to give yourself a demeanor. Let's see which are the most anticipated war games from Winter Quartering 2025 edition. Let's begin with the obvious things. Seljuk, Byzantium Besieged, 1068-1071 by GMT Games, designed by Justin Fassino. Levian campaign system by the big Grandmaster Folko Ranki, that we on this channel, as you understand, really love. Oh, look at that cover. I feel sick. I want it yesterday. Here is a latecomer from the last year. I won't go into detail because we have already talked about it last year. It was scheduled for the end of the year, but nothing. Unfortunately, it won't be released for Play Bologna in April, the largest Italian board game fair, where I hope to demonstrate it, as I always do with the titles in the series. We'll probably have it in June. In the meantime, let's see the map, that in size follows the large one from Elmore Avid. Counters, well, I don't even know what to say anymore. It's absolutely my most anticipated game without a doubt. I can't wait. Well, we've named the Grandmaster, so let's move on to one of his works, The Hunt for Blackbeard, which will be published by Fourth Circle Games, a two-player game with movement and hidden information based on intelligence work on the hunt for the infamous pirate. Mr. Ranki, who does his specialties in an engaging context. What else? Obviously, the production and care of the products of a small house that has gained a foothold thanks to its quality, namely Fourth Circle Games, that will not perform great simulations that aim for realism, but rather focuses on beautiful historical games maniacally cared for and with a very high educational and cognitive power, as well as damn fun. Of all the games that are resold, because I'm not rich and don't have unlimited space, Shores of Tripoli is the only regret I have. Votes for Women is another great product. Luckily they are available online for free on Rally the Troops. Together with Blackbeard, always from Fourth Circle Games, we await another latecomer from last year, Halls of Montezuma, card-driven for two players on the war between the US and the Mexican Empire in the mid-19th century. We also already talked about this last year, and we will not go into detail. It will certainly be fun. The two games should arrive together more or less in late spring. Off with the last latecomer, announced for a lifetime, finally seems here. Rome Victrix by Compass Games, with a Kickstarter completed in winter. It seems close to delivery, with a video and presentation of the tangible product, and with the rulebook and scenario book volumes available. And yes, the game by Paul Kallio and Compass Games seems to have a lot of stuff inside. I think like 1000 counters, not to mention the amount of scenarios that cover a period from the Punic Wars to Justinian. A strategic game for 1 to 6 players. Yes, there is also the solo mode, with a small separate section on the rulebook. After an eternity, we will finally see what came out of it. Fingers crossed. Oh, this is the year for the ancient history fans, you know. Now we drop a nice unexpected bomb. I didn't think it would come out this year, but it seems really close. From the author of that jewel of Pendragon, where a remarkable research was done for the rendering, the complexity as well as identity of the theme, Morgan Guillaume Reti brings us Hubris, Twilight of the Hellenistic World, published by GMT Games, a strategic political diplomatic game focused on the Hellenistic kingdoms, like the successors of the successors. Covers in fact the 55 years from 220 to 165 BC. That is from the Battle of Raphia between Antiochus III and Ptolemy IV to the Third Macedonian War and the Battle of Pydna between Perseus of Macedon and the legions of the consul Lucio Emilio Paulo. It's not a card-driven game with hidden information. Instead of a hand, the players have a sort of court or tableau with each leader represented on a card with various values and abilities. It's a 1 to 3 player game, I would say 3 player game. You will control the kingdoms of the Ptolemies, the Macedons, and the Seleucids. Events and non-player system will control all the external factions and events that happen in and around the Hellenistic world. Pressure from the barbarians, revolts of the Greek cities, emerging powers from other parts of the Mediterranean, Punic Wars, Hannibal invading Italy. Honestly, I have very high hopes for this and can't wait to have it. Let's continue with Oppidum from Historic 1. This should be imminent, very imminent. Who doesn't know Cry Havoc? Who doesn't like it? I think if I had to keep only one game, one box of my entire collection to play with the rest of my life, it would be a Cry Havoc. Very funny, thematic, moldable and infinitely replayable. Absolute fun. Here we go to goal during the campaigns of Julius Caesar. What can go wrong? At most a few dice rolls. Istabai. Spartacus. Rome under threat. Told you that this is the year for ancient history fans. With this orgasmic cover, there is the upcoming game of a small, emerging but promising Spanish company, Neva War Games by José Manuel Neva, on which I would like to put the spotlight because they have several pretty good titles. You can see them on their website, where they also have a pre-order program with convenient prices, especially for Europeans, where you can contribute to seeing their games made more quickly. Personally, I'm also looking at their multiplayer on LC, but we'll talk about that for next year, I think. Spartacus is an X-Encounter card driven on the Servile Revolt. For 2 players with solo mode, with the automaton that plays the Roman. Morale, supply, territory control, scoring system, particular combat resolution system, so many nice things that promise well, together with what seems like a great care of the product. Looking forward to it. Let's continue with Epic Battle of Alesia, a mega reimagining of the Avalon Hill Classic with components on steroids. Starting with the size of the map. 2 modular maps of 22 by 34 inches that you put together. But there is also the option of the new print mat if you do the starter, which is still active, I believe. Unfortunately, it's not convenient for us Europeans. Big counters, everything big. Too big for my table, but I think with the mounted maps that are rigid and help, I will get it anyway. Well, in short, a great, classic, acclaimed, big war game, a super pumped version of it with non-obsolete components and a dust-off rulebook. Then we have the reprint, Hoplite, second printing module for the series that simulates combat in ancient world. GBOH, Great Battle of History, designed by the masters Richard Berg and Mark Herman. There is not much else to say, except that I played Cataphract and even just a little. On that I sleep on it because I know that I like it so much, the Paradox. So I focus playing other games because I know I love the series. This year, let's see if I can use this excuse to start playing the series to the fullest. Hoplite, great reprint. Then still ancient, very last, because this firecracker arrives here. Thunderbolt! Also available in the deluxe edition that collects Carthage and Rise of the Roman Republic. X-Encounter, Ancient World Operational Strategic System, designed by Mr. Berg. Rise of the Roman Republic was about events of the Roman Republic with scenarios from Pyrrhus to Hannibal. Carthage instead showed us the fight for sea and land of the First Punic War. Thunderbolt introduces the map of Hispania and new dynamics and scenarios with the possibility of combining everything for maximum epicness and the eternal glory. Must have. Well, enough with the ancient. Let's start shooting again. Pontiac's War Frontier Rebellion 1763-66 will be published by Compass Games and the prolific designer John Poniske. Among his titles, the most famous are Heart and Minds, Blood on the Ohio, and the one that interests us most, King's Philip War. The game in fact takes up the same system in a point-to-point map where it deals with the conflict and the English colonial problem in the borders and in the new territories ceded by France immediately at the end of the French and Indian War. There are many minor introductory scenarios, medium, and then obviously the entire campaign. It uses battle cards to introduce the chaos of combat, British expenditure on troops, the certain supply of Indian weapons, the rules of siege, the capture of prisoners, French interference, and the influence of traders. Let's move on to Legion Wargames, a company that I have the utmost respect for, which always make top-notch products in terms of historical detail, gameplay and care for the material. I remember last year Glorious Chance was one of my favorite games and in my opinion one of the best solitaires ever. Here with all our brothers, Solferino 1859 takes us to simulate the decisive battle of the Second Italian War of Independence with a hex encounter at the level of brigades and small detachments. In addition to this, the system is a derivation of that of at any cost Metz, or rather belonging to the Blind Sword system family. The creature of Lutman and Manson recently discussed on the channel with a video of Stonewall's sword. I certainly have my antennas raised for this combination of things, and so I await it. The designer here is Brian Armour. Then mentioning the Blind Sword system, this year Revolution Games will certainly bring us another chapter in the series of the American Civil War with the famous system, an atomic system guys. If you have never tried it, shame on you, do it immediately, it's really beautiful. I have to say that I played it well only this year and I have to run to recover other titles in the series. So the next one, in all probability, for what I understand, will be First Day at Gettysburg, and it will be very hard to give up. Also because I'm curious to see how much and what it has to do with Devils to Pay by Tiny Battle Publishing and designed by Herman Lutman. Anyway, great system. I leave you with some news regarding Avalon Digital and the designer Philippe Thibault, known above all for the All Europa Universalis. There are both versions of games also present on Steam in the form of video games. The first is a game about the French and Indian War called Small War Mohicans, which is the reproposal of the ancient Mohawk. Point-to-point strategic game about the French and Indian War, beautiful production and material, quite fast, dicey but engaging, with all the classic things of the conflict: winter phase, reinforcements, construction of force, roles, strategic occupation or location for victory points. Then we have Hispania, basically a new re-implementation of Britannia, the epic immortal game of Avalon Hill, but in Hispanic land, that will make us retrace the entire history of invasion from the Carthaginians to the Reconquista. Then we have the news of the 7th reprint with events and new scenarios wanted by the designer Mark McLaughlin of War and Peace, the classic Napoleonic game. One last wonderful, fantastic news. The game Brides 1341, published by Shaco, treated and adored here on the channel. Go and recover the videos. We'll see the reprint in English. The appeal has been heard and therefore probably already in spring we will be able to fight in the Breton succession struggle using the Albionic line. Hurrah! Thanks for listening guys, I hope you enjoyed the videos. I have nothing more to say other than take care. Bye.